Well, the story goes that on a mountain range far, far away, a holy man once lived near the top of the tallest mountain. In the valley below was a village. The holy man was the very picture of peace and serenity. The climb up the mountain was arduous, but the wise man was very, very wise, and so villagers frequently made the dangerous climb to seek advice and enlightenment from the wise man. After several years, the mayor of the village climbed the mountain and said to the holy man, "Sir, you do a great service to the people of the village, and we all value your sage advice. However, the climb up the mountain is very treacherous. Please consider coming down the mountain and dwelling in the village for the safety of your followers." The holy man thought for some time about the proposal and finally agreed to come down the mountain. When he arrived in the village, a large crowd had gathered, everyone jostling and pushing, trying to get as close as possible to the holy man. He was shoved this way and that way, and soon he was shoving back, and he even had to slap a woman's hand a couple of times. And suddenly, everyone, including the man, realized that he was just another guy with a short temper. And so the moral of this story is location, location, location. There is something about a place. As you've probably seen, there are lots of studies that indicate that people who regularly attend houses of worship are happier, healthier, and live longer. Often in these studies, correlation is mistaken for causation. It isn't being religious that makes people healthier and happier and live longer. It's being religious about getting up and going somewhere, about joining in ritual and community. And I'm not talking about incense or bowing as rituals. I'm talking about getting up on Sunday morning, sprucing yourself up a bit, and joining in a like-minded community of people. I'm talking about showing up and sharing and giving and doing and thinking and debating and learning. I'm talking about greeting people, singing, helping people across that glacier out there, cooking, teaching, giving. Here in this location, we are a place of hope and light. More than a century ago, an idea sprouted in the rich, free soil of Unitarianism when John Dietrich first named his new religion without God, humanism. Dietrich dreamed of supportive communities that would encourage reflection and social engagement, a place, as he phrased it, as, quote, a common meeting ground for all, rich and poor, learned and unlearned, theist and atheist, on the single common basis of religious fellowship. Dietrich called it religious fellowship a century ago. Nowadays, we call it community. And that's still what we're about here, well over a century after the people of First Unitarian Society embraced that dream. We strive to be that common meeting ground for rich and poor, learned and unlearned, theist and atheist. Here, we strive to be a supportive community that encourages both reflection and engagement. We understand that it's a lot easier to be a hermit on a mountaintop than be one of a group of people. The hermit in the story only had integrity as long as he was in charge and isolated. But we human beings are a gregarious species. We need to bump into people. We need our attitudes adjusted by interacting with others. We need our ideas, ideals, and our integrity tested and affirmed by other human beings. Here, in this location, elderly people interact with children, perhaps for the only time in a whole week. We're a fairly age-segregated society. Here, children interact with elderly people, perhaps for the only time in a week. Here, we meet people differently abled, people with struggles and joys that we have never even imagined, people with ideas and experiences that we have never even imagined. Yet we join together in a covenant, an agreement about how we hope to treat each other. We just said it a bit earlier, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Location, location, location. This is a place of hope and light. And that's the theme for our pledge campaign this year. And after assembly today, please head downstairs and find out what our stewardship team has in store for you. I hope you agree that things look prosperous around here on Sunday morning. The space is clean. The rooms are set up for our meetings. There's coffee and tea. We have art on the walls. We have an assembly that's planned well in advance. We have quality programming for all ages. We offer talks and programs that are unique to a congregational humanist community. In the churches across the street, they don't talk about things as we talk about them here in this location. We have a warm meal available every week after assembly. We have special interest programming throughout the week. We offer opportunities to put your values into action, a way for you to increase your impact on the things you care about in this world. And yeah, we look fairly prosperous around here. And believe me, our finance committee and our finance director and our board of trustees and our foundation board take all of that financial responsibility very seriously. And we on the staff, we do our best to make this a great place with lots of programming at the lowest possible cost. When we do surveys asking what needs to change around here, our congregational folk, you nearly always say, more, do more, do more. We don't tend to talk about money around here very much. On Sundays, we have guests, and many of us know that it's not polite to talk about money when there are guests around. Consequently, if you aren't in a leadership position around here, you probably don't know how all this place works. Those of you who have been around for a while know that we are finishing up on a capital campaign that raised nearly $4 million to upgrade our building. That's why it looks prosperous around here. As with most renovation projects, we ended up spending a bit more than our members pledged, so we were faced with a shortfall. Most of you don't know that we got a bequest from FUS member John Bassett. Many of you remember John singing in our choir. John loved music, he loved this place, and he left FUS money in his will. And part of that money will help make up the capital campaign shortfall. Thanks a lot, John. Yeah. As long as the balance of the pledges come in as we expect them to, FUS will be totally debt-free by this time next year. Yep. John's bequest helped make that happen. Oh, and by the way, please fulfill your capital campaign pledge if you haven't done it yet. We are counting on you. We look prosperous, but a cursory look doesn't reveal the things that around here that are stuck together with paper clips and chewing gum. For example, our facilities manager, Tim Rail, and I are the only full-time employees at this institution. Everyone else is working less than full-time hours at a less than full-time salary. It would be great if we could get our director of religious education up to full-time. It would be great if we could increase the hours that Rev Kelly spends on social justice initiatives. Right now, she's only paid for 15 hours of social justice work per week. In addition, the Unitarian Universalist Association posts suggested salaries for various positions in the various areas based on the numerical size of our congregation. We are between 450 and 500. We are at the bottom of salary suggestions for every position we have on staff. In addition to that, we try, but often don't succeed in giving staff a cost of living increase each year. Now, I hope you agree that we have assembled a very good staff around here. Everyone on staff could be making more money somewhere else. We make up for that because they can see that we are doing good in the world, and also we have a positive work environment, we have flexible hours, and we have generous paid time off. But those things only go so far. Then there's the programming. The music scene in the Twin Cities is kind of amazing, right? We would love to get in more outside musicians if we had the budget. We pride ourselves on finding informed and inspiring speakers for our programs, but the budget for outside speakers is almost non-existent. A furnishing budget is completely non-existent. Upkeep on and replacement for chairs, tables, kitchenware, glassware, TVs, we don't even have a budget line for those expenses. So, you're beginning to get the picture. There's some gum and paper clips around here holding it all together. Now, as you know, in consultation with members of the congregation, our board recently wrote a new mission statement, and it's short and sweet. First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis is a congregational humanist community dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. A free search for truth, meaning, and justice in a congregational setting. That's our mission. We've broken down executing that mission into 4 programming components: youth development and connection, that's religious education; adult enrichment and connection, that's what the programming that Jim Fody does; social justice, that's the work that Rev Kelly does; institutional resilience, that's the physical plant work that Tim Rail does. Each of those areas has a set of goals. And we aren't setting those programs up in competition with each other, by the way. We want to be able to think clearly about our mission and how to achieve it in every dollar that we spend. We need to have goals, and we need to have the ability to constantly monitor and update how we are achieving those goals. We have a plan, we execute the plan. If the plan isn't working, we find another plan, we execute the plan, see if the plan's working. That's the way we do it. Last week I proposed the notion that integrity is a match between the inside and the outside. Walking the walk. Now, I know that many of you here today are here because you have in your life insisted upon integrity. Some were born into a religion that stopped making sense. For some people, when that happens, they just keep quiet and stay in line and mumble over the creed and make everything look normal. But many of you could not do that. Your integrity would not allow it. Some of you are here because you've tried a whole bunch of religions, and maybe they all seemed sort of true for you, or maybe they all looked hollow, but your integrity won't allow you to subscribe to something that you do not find true. Some of you are here today because you've decided there are no answers. But mystery is cool, and you like asking questions as openly and truthfully as you can. And some of you are here today because you've never much been interested in religions or philosophies. You're an apatheist. But you think that human community is important, or that working for justice together with other people increases the impact, and it's an important thing to do. Some of you are here because you grew up in this congregation or somewhere else where a free search for truth and meaning and justice in a congregational setting was the way it always was. You were lucky, And that's how we're trying to raise our children in our Religious Explorers program today. Now, however you got here, you know that this is a special location. We are creating community according to humanist principles. And no, by the way, I'm not going to do any sports metaphors. Team is the only one I'm going to use today. Promise I'm not going to sound like a basketball coach. Here, we are convinced that human beings are social by nature and find meaning in relationships. Humanists long for and strive toward a society and a world of mutual care and mutual concern. A society and a world free of ostracism and prejudice and cruelty and its consequences. A society and a world where differences are resolved cooperatively without resorting to violence. This is our ideal and our goal. The joining of our individuality with a community of interdependence that enriches our lives, encourages us to enrich the lives of others, and inspires the hope of attaining peace, justice, and opportunity for all. We believe, as that first Humanist Manifesto said so long ago, we believe in living a shared life in a shared world. And we know that you can't be humanist alone. Not for very long, anyway. Humanism is about conversation, about relationship, about nurturing, and about community. Even the sometimes solitary production of art and thought is ultimately about sharing. Denzel Washington gets it right with the words in your order of service this morning. Quote, at the end, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. The early humanists dreamed of supportive communities that would encourage reflection and social engagement, a common meeting ground for all, rich and poor, learned and unlearned, theist and atheist, on the single common basis of religious fellowship. Today we call it community, yet still, over a century after those words were spoken, we are still here. The story and the moral is all about location, location, location. When Margaret Sanger had nowhere to speak about reproductive rights in the 1920s, she came to First Unitarian Society. When Pete Seeger was banned from public performance in 1951, he sang from the stage. When Daniel Berrigan was one of the most hated men in America because of the Vietnam War, he spoke here. Location, location, location. No one who joined in that dream way back that century and a few more years ago is alive today. They're all dead. But what they set in motion is still here today and now. And we'll keep it up next week, next year, next decade, and next century. We are here for the long haul, speaking about our very, very curious maybe, but very real and important truth. Thank you for joining me in that adventure. Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.